Mars and I. Hello, hello, hello.
Like I'm a little nervous and
I'm not going to talk about that.
Ramp, always look at the camera.
With what? With Frequency 8 or me?
Woo! Are we going to have to do all this again? Frequency 8 is fate.
Frequency 8?
it is a force. Music and spirit, love and life.
Dedicated and geared, raise consciousness through music.
Eric, you know Mystre, he's like my best friend. He owns Frequency 8 with me. We do the parties. Well, you just thought we were one person?
In junior high, which was about '86, we became friends through a mutual friend of ours. And our common interest at the time was skateboarding.
We went surfing together and we were friends.
When I was about 18, I started mobile DJing, and Mars started helping me out with that. Started doing that a couple years later together, and
he was there when I got the music, and he was a big part of, you know, my friendship from growing up as a kid. And I said, I got a great idea, you know, let's do this music. And so I got him records, and he started playing, and he helped me out with the parties.
Mars was throwing raves and underground events in 1994, and he had me play at a couple of them. I was really into the music. A couple years previous, I was living in LA, and we used to go out to this techno club. That was about '91, I think. We were both blown away by the environment and the music. And in 1994, he made this connection over in Germany.
The music came from me going to Germany in 1994, and I guess you could say discovering it and bringing it back to San Francisco. I was distributing the records to other people, like Ron DeCore's store down in LA, and you know, Theo would buy my record.
He gave me some of these records to start playing, and we had this talk one night about throwing, you know, events geared towards expanding consciousness, which is what we felt like the music was doing for us, and how the music was changing our lives and our perception and perspective on life. We wanted to do for other people, so we came together and started throwing events called Frequency 8.
I wanted to use the number 8, and he wanted to use Frequency, and it was like chocolate and peanut butter. The first thing was mastering a party with his new style of music. With the parties, the first party I threw was like 16 people. It was like, that's all I wanted to invite. It was 15 or 16 people, and we got like 22. So we were happy with that, you know, and I thought, is it hard to find 20 people, 25 people in the entire city of San Francisco that like trance music? And between me and my friends, we were able to. And so that's how the first Frequency 8 party started, and we just kind of grew up from there. And we keep the parties at 150 people, and keep the parties at 500 people, and just let them grow, and let the people grow us, as opposed to try to sell the people. And you know, with that, then I opened the store that once again came from the living room. I moved basically the store into a small little place on Haight Street.
It was the first record store solely dedicated to trance music in the country. Trance was really underground, really unexposed still in San Francisco and the rest of the country. We continued throwing these events about every 3 or 4 months for the next probably 3 or 4 years.
Our party started out in Stinson Beach, and we used to throw them down on Red Rock, which was crazy because to even hike down to Red Rock is a trip. It's like a mile downhill. And then, I mean, like ridges and like, it's dangerous just to walk down there.
They were great events, but they took a lot of toll, I think, physically on us because of their locations. We hauled equipment, I don't know how miles down cliffs, and it was crazy, but they were great, and they were different, and people were really into it, and that's how we started building our following from those events being so different at the time, and our promotion being targeting the internet SF raves crowd, and little tiny 3-inch by 3-inch black and white flyers that were really unpretentious and very just reserved, and it was great the way it all started. We were the only ones crazy enough to do it, so we were the only ones that did it, and they were really beautiful parties. We would do them there, and we would do them up in the forest. It's not Ewok, it's something around there, I forget the name, it's hidden. Where we used to go into the middle of the forest. This was the most precious one. And we were friends with the rangers, so we'd be able to actually go in there and make sure we weren't being caught. And we'd shuttle people into the forest, and they'd walk about a mile in, and in the middle of the woods, there was this clearing, and like, it's tiny. We'd get, 150 people out there and go all night. And there was a higher demand for capacity at these events, so we started doing 400-person events. The organization was starting to kind of unfold, like in terms of flowering, and we were getting a lot more people. Like, we only wanted like 400 people, maybe 500, and we kept them in that, and it was great. The diehards were there. We just kept the whole room red. Intentionally, we kept it red because it was really, to have a whole room deep red creates a certain kind of mood. And it was generally the mood where people were smoking anyways. So it really went well together.
Because it makes no attempt to be great.
From there, they went to 1,000-person events, to 1,500 people, to 2,000, and
basically, we had a big enough following to where we could make the jump to 2nd and Jackson, and we needed to. And it was a much bigger location, but it was a great party when we moved there. It was like old school warehouse style. And those parties like made the scene in San Francisco for a long time. Camp Out was really cool because we were the first organization that was allowed back into this kind of sacred garden. It was basically a place that was up in the Mendocino Hills, up in Willits. You go all the way up this hill, and then once you get up this hill, you gotta go all the way up this road. And like, by the time you get there, you can't believe you've driven as far as you have. Your car is freaking filthy, you know, it was crazy. And so basically, you get there and you're in heaven. It's like a lot of energy at these parties, and people really liked them a lot.
Yeah, I'm very blessed to have experienced the FA campouts. They were one of a kind, and everybody that was involved knows that there was something very special that was being harnessed.
They were like magical. It was like being in a magical land, whether you're on anything or not. A lot of times people were, a lot of times people weren't, you know?
It was the best one for me, personally. In my opinion, that was the 2-year up at Willits. And, there was many friends around, and there was just an energy that it was one of a kind. And
Everybody knows my parents rave pretty much, and if you don't know that, well then your friends probably know it. Basically, yeah, they go. My mom, she loves the music. The Paca Bell song is for her. And then my dad loves the music. He used to be in a band and be the drummer in a band. And it's cool because his initials are DJ, DJR actually. And then my stepdad, well, he just likes it. I think it's because he's mathematical. Because the beats are mathematical, keeps him tuned in. People of all ages, you know, little kids I see, you know, wearing little Frequency 8 shirts. To old, I mean, I don't want to say old, sorry Charles, but dude, you're like 67 years old. The rabbi started asking me to play. He's, you know, a friend of my father's, and he liked my music, and so I started playing for him. And like I have like a whole kind of community of Chabadnik that listen to this music and come to the parties and dance around. Well, Save the Rave was our first record release on our label, Frequency 8, and that was a label that was like 2 years in the making for me. And when it came out, I had a lot of hype around it because it was, you know, the first real like international record label coming out of San Francisco. And Save the Rave went #1 most requested by the people for 1999, so it was pretty cool. It was never intended to be Mars and Mystery. It was just our names went well together, and people liked to book us both for their parties because it would ensure that the Frequency 8 crowd would go. So people just naturally started saying Mars and Mystery, and then we decided, hey, if there's so much hype around this Mars and Mystery thing, let's just play together more. And so people started putting Mars and Mystery on the flyers, and then we started playing out of town, and it was fun. But then when he kind of reached his mental limit of it, decided that he wanted to take a break and leave.
In 2000, when I took a break from the whole music industry, rave scene, Frequency 8, everything that was happening at the time, I physically left the States for 6 months, but I didn't really come back into the scene for a year. I think that I just needed a little bit of time off to like really get a clear perspective on how I felt about what I was doing. What I was looking for wasn't external, it was internal. And I can apply what it is I want to do in life externally through the music and through the scene that I'm involved with.
That reminded me of how vulnerable I was as just being me by myself. So when he came back, I, you know, didn't want to be together again. Like, he should be his own entity and I should be my own entity, even though we're very close friends. We're like brothers, you know? We are brothers. I think the rave scene was something that a lot of people needed. I mean, a lot of people needed to go out of it. A lot of people needed it for whatever reasons. It helped a lot of people. It was very communal. And during the 90s, you know, you needed that. A lot of people did, and myself included. And it was a scene. It was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think it just reached its biggest. You know, I played New Year's Eve, 45,000 people at the LA Coliseum. It's like, after that, I was like, I'm tired like of DJing. Like, I've done it. I've done the greatest I can do. Like, I don't care about playing in England. Why would I play in England? My fans are out here. I don't care about going anywhere in the world except the West Coast of America because, you know, it was on fire here, and it still is compared to the rest of America. But I mean, after that party, I felt like I'd seen the light. But like when I was mixing on New Year's Eve, I had 3 turntables and they were all on springs because they were on stage, so they were like this the whole time I was mixing. And everybody knew what time you went on. So if you like train wrecked or you messed up, boy, everybody know your name. Everybody, when they walked up there from Richard Humphrey Vision to Christopher Lawrence, like everybody walked up there and like all stoked to walk up. They walk up and all of a sudden they saw the crowd go all the way back and it was on springs, and all of a sudden everybody's just like, they got like sober time real quick. Ooh. really that was my big thing when I was younger, was the Rasta religion. I knew everything about it, and it didn't matter if I had dreads or I didn't. It was like, I know that a Rasta is, you know, from his heart.
Frequency 8 presents the first event of its kind, the Festival of the Light. Ours, Mystery, Steve Baltez from Germany on live PA, Yano and Garth.
Hey, this is Rasta and Jamal from Strictly Roots. We'll be there with your live reggae music plus performances from Third World and Michael Rose.
Plus Marky, Dilute, Tom Slick, Nuclear Hyde live PA, Gianni and Disco Sean.
Also live sets from Israel Vibrations, Eco Mouse and more. The Festival of the Light.
Bounce in the house, bounce in the house, bounce, we got now Mr. Reggae. And the house on the rave. It's got digga 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 digga, mouse is in the air. Digga 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 digga, we're smoking at the air. We're digga 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 digga.
Still do feel like that the Rastas and the ravers have something in common, and the ravers are kind of like a technology side of the Rastafarian movement, and the Rastas are kind of an organic version of the raver movement, and there's crossovers in between. So to be able to throw this show and showcase, you know, the finest in both worlds was a real honor for me, and it's kind of opened a lot of doors for me in my personal life. A lot of my close friends are from that show, and I feel like I'm in touch with my long-lost tribe.
The LA store was like a huge project for me because I built the whole thing like I was doing it with people who built the Men in Black sets and who worked on the Johnson Space Center. And the Metreon, the San Francisco Metreon, I worked with the people who designed that. And basically, you know, it was a very big lesson for me on how to manage stress and how to get things done. And so I'm really glad that I opened that.
From ancient times, these attained oneness. Heaven attained oneness and became clear. Earth attained oneness and became calm. Spirits attained oneness and became potent. The fountains attained oneness and became full. The 10,000 things attained oneness and became fertile. Kings and lords attained oneness and became sovereign. All are what they are by virtue of oneness. If heaven were not clear, it would shatter. If earth were not calm, it would splinter. If spirits were not potent, they would perish. If fountains were not full, they would dry up. If the 10,000 things were not fertile, they would die out. If kings and lords were not sovereign, they would stumble. Thus humility is the root of greatness, and the low is the foundation of the high. Hence princes and lords see themselves as orphaned, widowed, and worthless. Is this not seeing humility as the root of greatness? Too much glory means little honor. Seek neither the glitter of jade nor the dullness of stone.